The finance ministers dismissed inflation in 10 words in paragraph 3 of her speech. We deplore the casual attitude of the government, and nothing in the budget speech gives us the confidence that the government will seriously tackle the issue of inflation.
Sir, Andhra Pradesh has been given a special package. Bihar has been given incentives. Do you think that opposition rule states have got a raw deal in this budget?
Simple. If those announcements had not been made, Mr. Naidu and Mr. Kumar would have withdrawn support. These are what we call lifelines. Mr. Modi is saving the life of his government. Unless you want his government to come to an end, you will appreciate him. He is now bending down to Mr. Naidu and Mr. Kumar and says, I'm saving my life. You have saved my life. So please take whatever you wanted. And if they make more demands, he will concede that demand.
Daily. Taste Daily. Taste the Daily.
You have listened to the budget speech of the Honorable Finance Minister, as I did. The budget documents were uploaded only about 3 hours ago, and it will take time to read and analyze the documents. On behalf of the Congress Party, I shall make a few observations and comments, and my colleague, Ms. Supriya Srinath, will add more observations. I have already tweeted that I am happy that the Honorable Finance Minister had an opportunity to read the Congress manifesto after the Lok Sabha 2024 elections. She has virtually adopted the ideas underlying our proposals on employment-linked incentive ELI scheme, the apprenticeship scheme with an allowance to the apprentice, and in the abolition of the angel tax. I welcome her to borrow our ideas, and I wish she had borrowed or adopted many more ideas from the Congress manifesto. This morning, I had created a template to comment on the budget. In the first part of this statement, I have set out our expectations of the budget. In the second part, I have noted the relevant statement in the budget speech. Whether there was a response in the budget, and if so, what was the response? You will notice on some matters there was no response at all. First, unemployment. According to CMIE, the All India unemployment rate is 9.2%. The response of the government is too little and will have only little impact on the grave unemployment situation. They claim that the schemes announced by the Finance Minister will benefit 290 lakh persons is highly exaggerated. She has given three numbers: 210 lakh, 30 lakh, and 50 lakhs. Each one of the numbers is highly exaggerated. 2. Inflation is the other major challenge. WPI inflation is 3.4%. CPI inflation is 5.1%. And food inflation is 9.4%. The Economic Survey has stated that the deflator for manufacturing has been assumed as 1.7%. Roughly half of the WPI inflation. The deflators assumed by the government have been severely criticized by several knowledgeable economists. Unless the puzzle of the deflator is resolved, it is not possible to unquestionably accept the claimed GDP growth of 8.2% in 2023-24. Besides, the GDP growth rate is no answer to the huge challenge of inflation. The Economic Survey dismissed the issue of inflation in a few short sentences. The FM dismissed it in 10 words. The finance ministers dismissed inflation in 10 words in paragraph 3 of our speech. We deplore the casual attitude of the government, and nothing in the budget speech gives us the confidence that the government will seriously tackle the issue of inflation. Education is widespread but of poor quality. Nearly one half of the children are unable to read or write a simple text in any language and are numerically challenged. They are not fit for any skilled job. The central government must drive and help the states address these fundamental problems. The other issue concerning education is NEET and the scandal-ridden National Testing Agency. Several states have demanded that NEET should be scrapped and the states should be free to adopt their own methods of selecting candidates to various courses in medical education. The budget has no response. I did not hear the finance minister refer to school education now. Yet the government is stubbornly clinging to NEET. You will recall, NEET is an examination at the end of school education. Interestingly, against the BE of rupees 1,16,470 crore on education, the government spent only rupees 1,08,878 crore. 4. Health care is better but not sufficient. Public health care is growing quantitatively but not in quality. Out-of-pocket expenditure is still about 47% of total health expenditure. There is a grave shortage of doctors, nurses, medical technicians, and diagnostic equipment and machines. The central government's expenditure on health care has declined to 0.28% as a proportion of GDP and to 1.9% as a proportion of total expenditure until the last year. The budget speech, there is no response. I did not hear the finance minister speak about the grave deficiencies in public health care. Moreover, against a BE of rupees 88,956 crore, the government spent only rupees 79,221 crore. 5. Wages have stagnated in the last 6 years after adjusting for inflation. Between 2017-18 and 2022-23, the average monthly earnings of workers were: self-employed worker, rupees 12,800 per month; casual or daily labor, rupees 7,400 per month; and regular wage labor, rupees 19,750 per month. We demand that the minimum wage should be fixed at rupees 400 per day for every kind of employment. While some relief has been given to the tax-paying citizen in the 0 to 20% tax bracket, no relief, I repeat, no relief at all, has been given to the poorer sections of the people, especially those who are non-tax-paying wage laborers and casual daily laborers. The government seems to be blissfully ignorant of its own statistics that wages have stagnated in the last 6 years while inflation is raging and such workers are not paid a decent minimum wage. 6. Farmers are mobilizing to protest. One of their demands is that the MSP announced for an agricultural produce must be backed by a legal guarantee. The Congress had in its manifesto promised to provide such a guarantee. No response in the budget speech. Let's wait to hear from the farmers. 7. Owing to massive unemployment, many students who had availed of educational loans have defaulted in payment of interest and or repayment of the principal. There is a demand that the government should write off the unpaid balance of educational loans as a one-time measure of relief. The response? The government has unusually spoken about giving education loans. They did not say that in the previous budget speeches. They are talking about giving education loans. But what about the huge burden of unpaid education loans? Students and their families were hoping that, given the acute unemployment situation, the government would give relief to the current borrowers. They must be bitter and disappointed. 8. Several political parties, including the Congress, have demanded that the ill-conceived and discriminatory Agnipath scheme should be scrapped forthwith, and the armed forces should resume the time-honored methods of recruitment. The response? There is no response. The agitation to scrap the Agnipath scheme will continue. So I have listed major issues of our concern. I have not gotten to macroeconomic analysis or analyzing the numbers. I'm talking about the common citizen of India, the youth, the students, the farmers, the laborers. They have demands, and those demands have been articulated by every political party in the recent elections. The Congress was among the first party to carefully articulate those demands. I'm afraid the first budget of the new government has left us very, very disappointed.
Hi, Smita Sharma. Mr. Chidambaram, a question to you. You know, it feels like they are giving more incentives perhaps to the new tax regime to force people to move to it. If you were the finance minister today, would you have kept two tax regimes to begin with? Which one would you have preferred?
Two tax regime is a bad idea. If you want to introduce a new tax regime, you should have announced it well in advance and say, from this financial year, everybody has to move to a new tax regime. A two tax regime is unacceptable and a bad idea. It will lead to tax arbitration, and people will be confused whether they should remain in the old regime or switch over to the new regime. I'm told it's even more complicated, that if you can switch once, you can switch back, but if you switch a second time, you can't switch back. I mean, I'm thoroughly confused. I don't think they have given great incentives to switch over to the new tax regime in this budget. They did it in the earlier budgets. This time they've only reduced the tax effect by enlarging the slabs. But that will benefit only people in the 0 to 20% tax bracket. I don't think it benefits anyone above the 20% tax bracket. The answer to your question is, I do not and I would not support a two-tax regime. On the other question about long-term capital gains, there is, as I speak, there is total confusion. They have removed the second proviso to section 48, but the third proviso refers to the second proviso. So unless you go through the fine print of the finance bill and read it carefully and analyze it carefully, I can't come to any conclusion. But by and large, the commentators on television seem to think that as far as real estate is concerned, the indexation benefit has been removed, and any sale after 23rd of July 2024 will be without the benefit of indexation. Now, a large number of people who have bought houses and the value is appreciated will certainly suffer. But as I said, I would reserve my judgment on the effect of the tax changes.
चिदम्बरम साहब, सवाल है कि आप जब फाइनेंस मिनिस्टर थे उस वक्त में एमएसपी की लीगल गारंटी नहीं की गई। आज आपको लगता है कि भारत की अर्थव्यवस्था इसके लिए तैयार है कि किसानों को एमएसपी की लीगल गारंटी दी जा सके?
You did not do legal guarantee of MSP.
Please understand, 10 years ago, there was no clamor for a legal guarantee. So why don't you ask finance ministers, if they are alive, 20 years ago, why did you not give a legal guarantee? Every response has to be contextual. Today, there is a clamor for a legal guarantee. The government of the day must respond to that demand. Either it should say, we accept the demand, or we do not accept the demand. There's no point in asking, why did you not give a legal guarantee 10 years ago? My answer is simple. 10 years ago, there was no demand. There was no widespread demand for a legal guarantee. 10 years later, there will be another kind of demand. The government of that day will have to respond to that demand. Well, we think it's feasible. We have put it in our manifesto. It's possible to give a legal guarantee for the MSP.
Sir.
Yes, sir. Right.
Sir.
Okay, sorry.
Sir, Andhra Pradesh has been given a special package. Bihar has been given incentives. Do you think that opposition rule states have got a raw deal in this budget?
Simple. If those announcements had not been made, Mr. Naidu and Mr. Kumar would have withdrawn support. These are what we call life. What is that? Lives. In a swimming pool, lifelines. Mr. Modi is saving the life of his government. Unless you want his government to come to an end, you will appreciate him. He is now bending down to Mr. Naidu and Mr. Kumar and says, I'm saving my life. You have saved my life. So please take whatever you wanted. And if they make more demands, he will concede that demand.
Sir, earlier the Congress party have made several demands regarding the railway safety, but in this budget there is no such kind of announcements or something which is being promised by the government that has not been fulfilled regarding the safety of railway, and no such kind of budget which can give some relief to the common man, because the manner in which the ticket fares have been increasing, so no such relief has been given. What's your response to that, sir?
There are many, many demands relating to the railway. If there had been a separate railway budget and there was a railway minister presenting a budget, these matters would have come up prominently. The finance minister has devoted a few paragraphs to talk about new railway projects. but there is no mention about safety of railway. Railway safety is at its lowest point. There is practically a railway accident every month. And I think the last 2, 3, 4 months, there has been one accident every month. There's no mention of Kavach. There's no mention of the kind of expenditure that is being devoted to railway safety. There is no talk about the coaches and the bogies for the poorer classes being reduced. There's no talk about increasing railway fares. Poor people are being pushed to buy higher price tickets for so-called premium trains. I think there is a lot of issue about the railways. We have demanded a separate discussion on railways, but that was denied in the last occasion. Let us see if in this budget session the government will agree to a full-fledged discussion on railway, either in the demand for grants for railways or as a separate discussion.
Any other questions?
Thank you very much for being here with us in this post-budget press conference.
Thank you.
Thanks very much.